Hello, Santa Fe, and welcome to Living Santa Fe. Today our guest is former Mayor Larry Delgado, who was mayor or councilor in
Yeah, I was elected in 1990.
1990, served 8 years.
8 years as a councilor.
And then you became a mayor.
For 8 years. So I was at City Hall for 16 years.
Oh my gosh. And prior to that, he worked at the Highway Department, which is now the Department of Transportation.
Yes.
And you were up in the design division for years, weren't you?
That's correct, 30 years.
I know. So he's got a big history of Santa Fe. His family are also one of the first Hispanic families to come into Santa Fe in the 1600s.
They came very early, very early, yeah. My brother, who was great about it, he did the genealogy in our family. He's got us back about 1710 or something like this, yeah.
I've been checking on the word in the streets. I wander around and I talk to people. So I noticed in the newspapers lately they're inventing hydrogen hubs in New Mexico. This is going to be a big deal for us. It's supposed to do clean electricity and used for fuel for transportation. And they're talking about it up in the Four Corners region. But I understand Los Alamos is working on it too.
That's what I've picked up, but just through the newspapers. I'm not real familiar with what I've read.
That's with me.
Yeah.
But it's another thing that is pretty good for Santa Fe. Have you gotten your booster shot?
I've got it. We're all taking, Angie and I have our booster shots. We've gotten okay, including the flu 4 shots.
Okay. Did you get sick?
No, not at all. Either one of us.
Good.
A little sore in the arm maybe, but that's it.
Yeah, well,
Otherwise it went great.
I just say it's a muscle.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. But it all went great. It just flowed, and the people, our initial shots were at Christus, and they were so efficient in everything they did. We went over to CVS for our flu shot, CVS for our booster. They were great. It was amazing.
Right.
It was well done.
I got my booster shot yesterday and had no bad reaction whatsoever. I was exposed to the variant about 3 weeks ago, I guess. But the woman she had all her shots and everything.
Yeah.
But she got sick, and I didn't. And we were playing golf, and that kind of thing happens, you know.
Yes, it does.
Fortunately,
really does.
it didn't affect any of us that were playing golf. So
that's good.
That was one of the good things.
Yes.
Another thing, a talk of the town, is our Congressional Senate in Washington has neared a deal to stave off the debt crisis.
Yes. It's always been my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that the debt, I think, will always be a concern and will always be a talking point.
It's always there.
But it's always there, and I was told by my son one time, especially when the pandemic hit, I said, I really feel bad. It'd be tough to be an elected official now. And I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, especially at the local level. But at the Washington level, he said, Dad, you don't need to worry about the government officials, the elected officials. You need to worry about people who have small businesses, and those are the ones that are struggling. Those are the ones that are struggling. That's who you have to worry about. And he says, the government will always have money. And they just raise the debt, and let's move on.
Yeah, I just, if I could yell across to Washington, pay the debt and shut up.
Yeah.
We don't default. We've never defaulted. No, so that was one of the things.
Sure.
Also, some shootings in Santa Fe. Young kids with guns. Big shooting in Arlington, Texas, by a young man at a school.
Yeah.
Just the city fired the AFSCME president.
That's correct.
Upcoming election. That's going to bring some hot stuff in here.
Oh, sure.
City audit. Problems with the city audit. OPEC prices are increasing.
Yep. And
that's happened too. That's happened before.
Sure it does. Sure it's going to happen. Those things happen. I just got back from some time up in Colorado, and they're getting 50 cents a gallon more than we are here in New Mexico.
I know.
The gas is going for about $3.75, $3.80.
I was up there.
Okay.
I mean, you have to have 3 credit cards to,
oh, yes.
to pay your way through there.
Yes, exactly.
Larry, we're going to have our elections coming up in
That's
November. November of 2021, and there have been some changes. So people better start studying on how they're going to vote, because this is a bit confusing this year.
Yes, it is.
In the past, we used to have our elections in March. Let's see, when was it? 2018, the legislature changed it over to where we would have them in November.
Yes, and rank.
And rank
correct.
voting. Now, a lot of people hate rank voting because it is confusing.
Yes, it is.
But I can't say one way or the other. I've always voted. You can just vote for one if you want to, or you can rank them.
Well, Angie and I, we went and voted yesterday, so that's done. And you don't. You can, the way they explained it to me at the county, which they do a great job of getting this together, is you can go in and vote. Let's say vote for one candidate for mayor. You can vote for your the candidate you want to represent you at the council level from your district, and that's it.
That's it.
You don't have to do any more. Now, if you want to go ahead and vote on the bond issues that are back there, they're on the back side of the ballot. You have to flip it over, and you vote for them. But I asked 3 times, if you'd vote, you just want to vote for your mayor, and you want to vote for your councilor, that's enough. You don't have to rank them.
That's right.
And a lot of people, and you're right, are confused about that, because I've been asked many times, you know, I want to vote, but I'm not clear about this ranking thing. I'm very confused about it. If I go down there and I mess up my ballot, or, which was worse, I'm not going to vote, which is even worse.
Yeah.
When you don't vote, then your voice is not heard at all.
That's right. Another thing they've had is the other change. Used to be the city clerk handled everything.
That's correct.
Joan V Hill, who's no longer there, who
Yeah.
was great, incidentally.
Yes.
I know she was there during your reign.
Oh, yeah, she was a fantastic city clerk.
Right.
I never worried what was coming out of her office was going to be done. I knew it was going to be done right.
That's right. She was great. But now the Catherine Clark with the county is in charge.
Yeah.
So in the event that anybody has any confusion or anything, they can contact the county offices.
Yes.
Catherine Clark's
Yes.
office.
And the people that are there, being that I voted yesterday, or we voted yesterday, are really good about it too.
Yes.
Because not only where they check you to make sure you're on the rolls, I was asking questions there. When I got over to the person who gave me the ballot, I did my voting, and then you walk down to a person who runs it through the machine. You know, it works really well. It really works well. And people should not be afraid to ask questions.
No.
That's what these people are there, is to help you. If you're confused about it and you say, do I have to rank everybody? No is the answer. You vote for who you like and move on.
Yeah, and there are a few other things, bonds, soil.
Yes, there is, which
soil.
are important. Those are important
Yeah,
also.
those are important.
Yeah.
And you should read, and it's been in the newspaper, and Channel 16 will be flashing off and on different things that people need to know
That's good.
about this
That
upcoming
is very
election.
important. But a lot of people are confused and they get a little intimidated about that. You know, they do.
I got to tell you, I interviewed a gentleman from the Secretary of State's office for the last election.
Right.
They got their act together.
Yes.
And I got to say, New Mexico had a great Secretary of State with I mean, it was so well organized.
Right.
And Santa Fe the same way. I've never had a problem.
Never. It's been great. I don't ever remember well, we have to have a recount. We can't give you the numbers. You know.
Yeah.
I remember when I've run in 4 elections, and they've all been run very well. The same night, maybe just a couple hours after the polls closed, we had results.
Yeah.
We knew what was who won and who didn't.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So I'm not a bit worried about the way the elections are run here. We've got good people doing them.
Yes.
I know a few years ago I was voting over at Gonzales, and I needed one of those yellow sheets that you get, you know, to study.
Yes.
And those are at the county clerk's office
That's
also.
right. That's right.
They're very helpful. So I started to go into the voting place, and a fellow I knew, he said, "Karleen, you can't come in here." I said, what do you mean? All I want is a yellow sheet.
Right.
He said, I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Oh, yeah.
Because this guy knew me, and he
Yes.
knew I wasn't in there for any
No.
bad purposes.
not.
But he stopped me, and I thought, good for him.
Well, and that's important, because if you run the election properly, people will come away happy. Okay, you made a decision, Santa Fe. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what you were going to have to live with. But overall, in most cases, Karleen, they do a good job. Like I said, in 4 elections, we didn't have any problems at all.
Another thing they'll be able to do, you can get your absentee ballot,
That's correct.
and that's already in effect. The regular day will be, I believe, November 2nd. That'll be the regular voting day.
That's
which
election day.
A lot of people like to do that.
Yes.
But they can check the progress of your vote. All you have to do is ask them, call them up,
That's right.
give them your
That's
number.
right. Do not be intimidated by this ranking thing.
Yeah, and don't let
Don't
anybody
let it
intimidate
drive you away from the polls.
That's right.
Go vote.
And don't let other people intimidate you.
No, in any way. No.
I've seen a few people that march up and down in front of the thing there, and people get a little nervous.
Yes.
And they shouldn't,
Yes.
because all you have to do.
Study the ballot. Study how your city and state and even federal elections, study it. And go in there and be prepared for, this is who I want, or this is who I don't want, you know, and this kind of thing.
I vote at the one at 100 Catron Street. That's the county offices.
That's the county offices.
And that's well run,
Yes.
perfectly.
It is, and this early voting, the parking is great. I drove up, you drive up the ramp, the parking is there, you vote, they have it signed where you go in the building. It was easy.
And
So Santa Feans, don't let that intimidate you. Get out there and vote.
oh yeah, it's very important. With what's going on in the country today, there's a lot of divisiveness, cultural clashes, and unfortunately it's happening here in Santa Fe. I never thought I'd ever see that.
No.
We've always had internal struggles. You know, Tommy Macioni and
Oh.
El Differente, he ran for the mayor.
Absolutely.
Everybody loved that.
Oh, sure they do.
Talk about different.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a different world today. We're living in even a different city. But we have to learn to work with it.
You do, and and I'm glad you brought that up, because, you've lived here all your life. I've lived here all my life, and I've never seen division in Santa Fe.
Not like this.
I know, and it's there now, and I hate to see that there's division in Santa Fe now. The incident on the plaza, different things like that. Had somebody come up to me and said, when I was mayor, and said, the Soldiers Monument on the plaza, someday it's going to get knocked down. And I'd have said, there's no way. We're not that kind of people. There's no way. Well, I would have been wrong.
You would have been
I'd
real
have been
wrong.
But then at that time I said, we don't do those things. We don't do that. We all have our beliefs and our histories and everything, and there isn't a culture, Karleen, within the world that doesn't have rough spots.
All of them.
Oh, sure they do. Sure they do, if you study a little history or whatever it is. But what's happened down there, it was really a bummer as far as I was concerned. I would have never guessed that. When I was watching it on TV, and I was like, you've got to be kidding. This is not happening in the heart of our city.
This, I think, the Obelisk incident that was done by people, not from here.
That's right.
They got up there with chains and ropes and pulled the whole thing down. And the cops were criticized, but I hear two opinions. The mayor told them to stand down. The mayor denies it.
Yes.
I'm not going to say one way or the other. It's up to people to make up their own mind about it.
That's right.
But those people that did it went to court, went before a district attorney, and they got a really light sentence of community
Yeah. In fact, I
service.
think some of the cases are still hanging out there.
They are still hanging out there. Where's the law?
I don't
Where's
know.
the law?
But you know, when you look at it, a mayor is supposed to be the top official. Even now that we have this new strong mayor form of government,
Yes.
which I didn't think was necessary, but the people voted for it.
That's
and
right.
It happened. I didn't think it was necessary for Santa Fe. But you got to know that in an incident like that, the mayor has to know about it. He is the top person. He is the boss of the chief of police and the whole bit. And he's got to know that something's going down.
Yeah.
Now, some people say no, it didn't happen that way. The police officers made the call. Was it the chief? Was it the commander on duty at that time? I don't know.
Yeah.
That'll be kicked around forever. But I do know it was a sad situation. I would have never believed that would have happened in Santa Fe.
Well, another thing, it was a very unsafe day because people sit out on that plaza. Tourists, people from Santa Fe, they go down there and they get their cup of coffee and go over there and enjoy that. And to have those people up on that and residents sitting around, the cops over here, no matter what, if they would have had to shoot somebody, they're liable to kill the wrong person.
Exactly. And then I'm sure there was discussion along, should we let it happen or should we engage?
That's
that
right.
was the thing. But who made the call will probably be talked about for a long time. But when you have a strong mayor form of government, I would think that the mayor has to be totally informed at all time about everything going on. He's a full-time employee.
Well, one thing about Santa Fe, the metote in Santa Fe is wonderful. When I worked for the state, I knew everything that was going on.
Oh, yeah.
You did too.
Sure, exactly.
The rumors spread, it gets all over the place, so you can't cover up much, and I had to work with the press.
And I think this is something that's going to be discussed, and I'm sure it's going to be discussed even after the election.
Yeah.
This will be discussed. And they've created a committee, the chart, I think they're calling it the chart committee. Again, what I read in the newspaper.
Yes.
I hope some way that work. I'm not sure that's going to work. But, you know, I think everybody has to respect the beliefs of other cultures.
That's right.
Whether it's our Native Americans, whether it's the Anglo or the Hispanics or whatever. But you should respect their history. And yes, there's rough spots. There was rough spots. If, what was the government way back under President Polk, dominant domain. That was sent out, and it was sent out along the lines that we are going to own everything from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
That's right.
We will be America. And a lot of bad things happened. While
They always
anybody
do.
who resisted was encountered.
Yes.
You know? And so there's rough spots everywhere. There truly is. We're still the greatest nation in the world in spite of everything.
In spite of all the dissension.
We're still the greatest, yes.
Yeah, this, to me, this culture in Santa Fe is so very different than other states. We had 4 rulers, the Spaniards, well, first of all, the Native Americans.
That's correct.
The Spaniards, the Mexicans, and then Popeye took over and kicked butt.
Yeah.
And then the Americans came in.
Exactly.
And I think we are different. Our culture goes so deep.
It does.
And people coming in don't get it.
No. They really don't.
I've tried to explain it, and you know, my friends, we all grew up here, went to Santa Fe High when it was downtown.
But I'll excuse you for that. I went to St.
I
Mike's.
know, that's right, you went to St. Mike's. But, you know, I don't care whether they were Spanish or Anglo or what they were, they resent what's happening now.
Yeah.
It goes back to something that's in this town that is not in other towns like it is
That's right,
here.
because there are many things that are very dear to people. And I think your history, your backgrounds, where you come from, your cultures are very dear to you. And if you'd always say, I never saw Santa Fe really upset about, well, the Native Americans and the Spanish, they got together really well. They did. There was rough spots. I guess I'll go back to that.
Always.
Of course there was rough spots.
We're a flawed species.
Yes, exactly. But I was sad to see what happened on the plaza. I truly was.
Yeah, I think that was the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I look at our total government right now. We have mistrust and dissension with our government. We have culture wars within the government. The big lie, not the big lie, the big lies are all spreading. Now they're even questioning social media about the way some of the things are coming out in that and how it hurts the young people.
That's right.
We're dealing with that. We didn't have that when we were young.
Oh, this world today is so different for us, and I bet you a lot of people that are going to watch this telecast are going to say, "Well, you guys were way back there. You know, the world has changed." Yes, it's changed.
But
I
it's
understand
the
it. But basic things like good government, honest government, quality of life issues, things like that, those don't change.
They don't.
They don't change. They might get bigger because the populations are bigger, and these, you know, so. It's a different time, but the basic goals to me, as far as government's concerned, is what you're going to do to make life better for the people who live in this state, in this city, in this world, in this country.
You know, I read Milan Simonich's column every day. He's kind of interesting. He had one the other day. He said the good old days had their fair share of bad moments. Well, it did. I remember different things that happened. Well, you know better than I do. You worked with Debbie.
Yes.
You worked with Sam Pick.
Sure,
How different can you get?
Exactly. And those, and you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about that because when I came on the council, Mayor Pick was there. Then I served under Mayor Jaramillo, and then I became mayor, and David Koss followed. So these are those 4 years. And it seems to me, I had to even write it down. I was kind of thinking about it. What was done between when Sam was there and all the way when David Koss, that's what, 4 mayors. And I looked down and I started thinking about it, and I saw, you know, we built 599.
Right.
We built the MRC.
Right.
Old Pecos Trail, Rufina, improvements to Cerrillos Road. And I'm reading these because I couldn't remember them all. And widening Cerrillos for better drainage. Remember, it used to be like a river at one time. We built the South Side Library, Genoveva Chavez Rec Center. You know, things, we looked at, we built the water diversion project.
That's right.
Under those mayors and things like this. And so it kind of concerns me that this is not on the top burner. I think we're getting a situation today where we're pushing to grow our city, and our city is growing. It is. You'd have to be blind not see it. I mean, you'd have to not drive down Rodeo Road and see all that. And yes, I understand that's what happens. A lot of people are coming here. There's a discussion about affordable housing. Why do our police officers have to drive in from Rio Rancho? Why do people who work at Christus, why do state employees have to do that? Okay, they say, well, because housing is easier to get into over there. But now we're building a bunch of houses. Are we solving the problem? Are these people that we're concerned about, are they able to get into the market here in Santa Fe? Is Santa Fe higher or even the same as Rio Rancho? I don't know. I don't know if that question's been asked. Are the people who really have the need, are the people who are renting here in Santa Fe, are they able to get in with the prices of the homes now? I don't know that. Who's getting those homes? That question needs to be asked. And I know that it is a human right. You can live, that's what makes us Americans in our free government. You can live wherever you like. But who is actually getting those homes? Are they people in need, or people are relocating from other places?
Yeah.
You know, different states.
And the prices are...
They're expensive. I don't know that much about what they're getting for the homes, but does it make it any better for the people who live in Rio Rancho? Can they say, oh man, I can go back to Santa Fe because I get this? I don't know. Do they? Has that question been asked? I don't know.
Well, I think that was one of the questions that so many people are talking about today, are the development of these apartments. I mean, one day you drive down the road and there's a line of them, and then 2 weeks later, it's up. It's going up 3-4 stories high.
That's right.
And they don't look like Santa Fe.
Well,
they look like downtown
perfect example,
New
and
York.
this is just me talking. A perfect example is that, I don't know what you'd call it, what they built by the highway department. I'm back, Highway Department, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've stopped and actually looked at it.
I've
and seen it from different views. I looked at it coming down Corridor Road or coming up Cerritos and going north and south on Cerritos. And it is, I can't believe that would ever. Again, there's another thing. If somebody said, there's going to be a 5-story building sitting right on that corner. And I said, no, I mean, our ordinances and things won't allow that. Well, that's not the case anymore.
That's
because
right.
I've been told and I've read where there is an ordinance going through council today that's going to allow 6-story buildings through different places in Santa Fe.
There goes
now, we refer to our city as a city different. I like that. I like to be different. I like the city different. Yeah, some people say everything's brown and you know that, and
It's
everything
still
is only
Santa
2
Fe.
stories. You can all that, but I don't want to be. And excuse me for any other people who are watching from other places. I don't want to be any old city USA.
Yeah.
I like the city different.
And that's why they come here.
Yes.
They come here to go to La Fonda and go to the Palace of the Governors and go to these homes, these beautiful homes.
So
they
you
have.
build 6-story buildings, all this, these beautiful mountains and things that we have and things, and you start blocking that off.
You block it off.
And it's just me. I that wouldn't happen because the commissions that we had in place. I'll give you an answer. There was a home that was built on the east side, and they overbuilt the height. The council voted to remove so many feet off the top of an existing home. It was brand new, and the contractor had to do it. And that happened while I was at City Hall. But ordinance change, I understand that. That's what kind of bothers me in the big push to grow Santa Fe. I think you really have to be careful. You have to be careful of where's the water going to come from? I haven't heard that asked.
The water's a big problem.
Well, sure it is.
The Southwest is going to get hit hardest by the climate change, and there is climate change. It's going to get hit harder than anywhere.
And well, that question doesn't get asked. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are concerned about it. I got a kick out. I was listening. I'm going to say this real quick. Our Chamber of Commerce has an ad on the radio now that says, when you go to a restaurant, don't ask for water. If you want water, ask for it. But the restaurants are not going to just be bringing you water now. That's how close people are worried about it. We have our Chamber of Commerce worried about that.
That's right.
Our water supply.
Yeah.
Now, shouldn't our government be really concerned about that? I went through it when we had that drought. That's when we came up with the low-flow toilets. We got
I
desperate.
remember the
Yes,
toilets,
we got desperate of that, where people had to build homes they had to use. And I got some phone calls that wouldn't quit. People very angry about that. But I said the water thing was bad. We were told by experts. You watch the Rio Grande doesn't have the flows it used to have.
Oh, no.
I'm a fisherman. I watch that really close.
Last year it almost dried up.
Oh, yeah. And places you can walk across and not get wet.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but things like that have to be considered. Yes, Santa Fe is growing out. But what do we do about our roads? Do we have to make them, now we go from 2-lane to 4 lanes? Are we going to do that because of the traffic condition? I've seen a bottleneck right there in front of Connie's store.
Oh, my God, yes.
It comes down Old Pickles Trail and it hits it, and it backs up maybe half a mile sometime, maybe even further up there. Because it all
the
pinches.
way up to Jacobs.
Then we get a little bit of that old Santa Fe narrow street, click, it closes it.
Again, that's what makes Santa Fe.
That's it. But the thing about it is that, yes, the city's going to grow, but you got to take care of, can we supply the water we're going to need in the future? Do we have wastewater treatment plants that are going to be able to handle this? Do we have a landfill that's going to be able to take the additional refuge that is being, things like that have to be talked to. They're not a glamorous thing. They're not a headline thing. But by God, if you're going to grow the city, you also got to do what they call O&M, operation and management.
Yeah.
After the thing is built, how are you going to operate it and how are you going to manage it?
I remember when I first started working for the state, one of the big complaints was Cerritos Road. Now, they put the blame on the highway department because they didn't have enough foresight to think that Santa Fe would get this popular. So that's why we've got Cerritos Road the way it is. We did not have the foresight to look ahead.
But boy, it's a lot better,
It's
Karleen,
better
than it
now.
used to be.
It's better now,
It was. I remember when it was narrow. When we'd go for a cruise, it was narrow. It was 2 lanes.
I remember that.
But just this thing like that, and I mentioned 599 the other day, and 599 wasn't an easy thing to build,
No,
because
I
we had to
remember.
build it in cooperation with the county.
Yeah.
You know, part of it's in the county, part in the city. We had to build it then. But right now, when I'm going out to the golf course or something like that, or out to the MRC, and I see a lot of the trucks are using 590. That's cool. Now, without that, well, they come right down Cerritos Road, okay?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right? Or St. Francis Drive. That's where those guys are.
That's
They don't
right.
want to be there unless they're making a delivery. They want to be able to go around and off to
Move it.
Vegas,
That's
off
what
to
I
Albuquerque.
do. I
Sure.
take all the shortcuts.
Exactly on that. But things like that, these are just quality of life issues.
We've got 3 candidates. We have the current mayor. He's the first paid manager,
That's correct.
Alan
He's
Weber.
a full-time mayor.
We have Joan V Hill Koppler. I'll tell you more about their background. She's a counselor, or she's no longer, but she's running for mayor.
Yeah.
And then we have a young woman by the name of Alexis Martinez Johnson,
Yes.
and she is an environmental engineer. And I give her credit because she came here in 2019. So she doesn't really know Santa Fe, but she's
new.
She's new,
Yes.
but she's got some pretty good ideas, and she's taken on a kind of a difficult race there
Yes.
between the mayor and the city councilor. But we'll talk a little bit about their background. One of the things I'm going to bring up is the amount of money collected. How did you get your money when you ran?
We got money by people who thought they wanted me to be their mayor, and they would send a donation. And all that has to be turned over to the city clerk. You have to account every, God, it's been a while, but every once a month or every 2 weeks. I can't remember what it was anyway. That way. We had raffles. We had gatherings of people where we served food and things like that.
Right.
And doing it that way. It's just a different way they're doing things now. To me, to know that there is a candidate that's getting a lot of money from out of state, first of all, creates a question mark for me.
Yeah.
Why is out of state people involved in funding a local Santa Fe election? That I don't know, and how that's happening.
I don't know how that happens.
But in our time, and the time I think when Sam ran and Debbie ran and I ran and David Koss ran, and I talked to those, us 4 people there because that's the time I was there, so I was familiar. I don't remember any of that. Somebody saying, "Wow, this guy just got a check from downtown New York."
Yeah, never happened.
Now, what that's about, I don't know, but I understand it's not illegal.
That's
It's
right.
not illegal. I understand that. I'll make that clear. But it's very unusual to see that's where funding is coming from.
And they need donations because they pay for consultants. They pay for, now they call them strategists. They have to do advertising.
Yeah.
They have to have a management staff.
You got to get the name out there. Yeah.
You've got to do that.
Yes.
And then you got to get endorsements. And I understand that the endorsements are kind of interesting in this election. Weber has received endorsements from 3 city councilors.
That's correct.
And the other 3 are remaining neutral. That's probably a smart idea.
Which I think, even outside an election, even you should be your own person. Even if it comes to voting for any particular item that's on the agenda. It's not good to be, I should say, for maybe being the mayor. It is good if you have 3 or 4 councilors that you can totally rely on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if I want something and I can depend on 3 or 4 councilors, 3 right now, it looks like it's 3 at City Hall right now, who vote pretty much with the mayor. It's kind of, well, I'm almost there. I only need 1 more, and then when it can be a tie vote, then come to me.
Yeah.
Okay, or if I can get 2 more, I'm done.
That's
But
right.
I got 3.
Yeah.
When we were there, Karleen.
You had a bunch of characters.
We had some tough people, and
you can mention them if you want to.
Oh, they were, people like Karen Heldemeyer and Peso Chavez and Art Sanchez,
Yes.
and Stephen Farber, Jimmy Martinez, Patty Boucher. If you were bringing something forward, you better bring your lunch, because it was not going to be a walk. These guys were thinkers. They were on their own, and you better bring a good thing forward. Or a consular was trying to bring something, you better bring, because you were going to get questioned about it.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't mind that at all. Sometimes it took a little longer to get this done, but a lot of times the consulars have some very good ideas, and they're thinkers too.
Yeah.
What about this, Mayor? What? Maybe we should do things like that. But to have 3 people that vote with you every time is kind of a luxury.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. I didn't have it. Sam didn't have it. Debbie didn't have it. David Costa didn't have it. We had these kind of people like, the Farbers and things like that. But they were going to ask questions. Peso and Karen Hildemeyer, every time I see her now, we could sit and talk, and we laugh about these big discussions that took place. But she was a lady, and they would come prepared.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk into the city council and start the meeting and look around and say, I got 3 votes. That was not going to happen.
And you couldn't sit around in there and say it was empty.
Oh, no.
I remember standing outside of when I had to come in for some reason.
Yes.
I had to stand outside, and the whole thing would just be packed.
Oh, yeah, it was. And I understand they can't do that with the pandemic and everything.
No,
I can say that's going on.
The pandemic has hurt a lot of things.
It has. And it's hurt us people being physically involved in the discussion. Yes. Yeah, you can go on Zoom and all those other different things like that, or you can send in an email or something like that. Now, who sees it? Do they look at it? How many people have the equipment to go on Zoom to watch the meeting and this type of things? Yes. Let me qualify it again. I understand we had to live within this protocol.
Oh,
I understand that clearly.
The pandemic was pretty
clearly
rough.
I understand that. But you were right. We had some meetings. There was some things that were very important to people, and that council would fill up, and I'd have the chief of the fire chief and come say, Mayor, we got to lock it up because you're getting too many people in here.
Yeah.
We can't let any more. And there was people looking in the window.
I remember. Yeah. There were some hot topics.
Yes.
And but people were able to get their word out there.
Yes, we always had that petitions from the floor.
Yeah.
Which you were allowed, and sometimes the line went out, and you were allowed 3 minutes to speak.
That's right.
And they came up, and sometimes they might have said something you didn't like.
Oh,
or they would pick you out, and this, Mayor Delgado or Consular Farber or Consular Martinez.
Charlie Griego was going to throw you out.
Yeah, well, he was fantastic, and people like that, but they had a right to say that. They had the right to talk about those things. And again, I'll qualify it. I know under the protocol for the pandemic, they couldn't do that.
They couldn't.
They couldn't do that now.
No.
But I wait for the day when I see the city council chambers full again, when people are there and they're involved in what's going on in their city, and they can say it because, like you say, you might think something, but until you can voice it and say to somebody, perfect example, Angie and I'd be walking into a grocery store and I'd be stopped and I'd tell Angie, go shop because it's going to take a while.
And Sam Peck would say, meet me at the bar.
Yeah. Okay. And I'd tell her, go ahead, because this is going to take a while. I know this person is got something he needs to discuss or she needs to discuss with me. And as a mayor, I think you should be open to it. People couldn't believe I still had my phone number in the phone book. Nobody knows what a phone book is anymore, but nevertheless. It was there, and they said, how can you believe it? Well, people should need, and I got some calls at 2 in the morning.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
But that's okay. That goes with the territory.
Yep.
That's the way I felt. I knew that going in.
Harry Truman used to say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about these candidates. We have Alan Weber, Santa Fe's first full-time executive.
Yes.
He was elected in 2018. I don't know where he's from. I really don't know, but I know he's got a Bachelor of Arts in English. He went to Amherst College.
Yes.
He's got a bachelor's degree in English. His business has been in a journalism career. He even wrote editor for the Harvard Business Review.
Wow.
And the founder of the Fast Company magazine. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not familiar with that one either. But I was looking at his earliest reports on donations. That was as of September, mid-September. He had over 170 donors at that time, representing the East Coast and the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 25% of his donor base. The rest of it was through various businesses around Santa Fe.
Sure,
you know,
sure.
what
Yeah,
they do.
yeah.
I think he ended up with, at that point, I don't know what it is now, but it was like $360,000. His first campaign, $318,000. So it's gotten more.
Mm-hmm.
People are investing in this election.
Yes, they are.
Like I said, I don't know why, but it must be
Which
people,
is something very new, but you know,
people
like I
interested
say,
in
things change.
people interested in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they ever talk about, we can't build south anymore. We're going to run into Indian land.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go north. We've got Indian land.
Oh, the Native American,
And they've got a lot of land.
That's theirs, and it's
You bet
theirs.
it's
and
theirs.
It's theirs, and I think it. Again, there's another place where they got to be made part of the conversation.
Yeah.
What we're doing, whether you're building roads or whatever you're doing, or whether you're taking water from the Rio Grande, and that became when we started working in regard to the wastewater, not the wastewater plant, but the diversion project. We knew the upstream people were going to be involved, and a lot of them have to do with the Native American community. They were involved,
Yeah.
and they bring a lot to the table. But these are things that I'll go back and say that don't seem to be a priority for the administrations today. Now I'll go back to let's grow Santa Fe, and then we'll worry about this later on.
No, you can't do that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
you're
they
going to
can.
have trouble.
Yeah.
Eventually. Joan V Hill Koppler, and she's city councilor, and she has quite a background. She was court director of the First Judicial District Court. She was working with the state Supreme Court.
That's right.
She has her own real estate business. Born and raised in Santa Fe. She has a master's degree in public administration and a degree in psychology, which you need in this city.
It helped.
From Eastern New Mexico University. So she's got quite a background, and she, as of mid-September for her, she netted about 2% from donors outside of Santa Fe, so for a total of about $29,600. Now, I don't know what she has now.
Yeah.
I haven't
seen any.
I
of
haven't seen the latest
any of the
report.
reports. No.
And Alexa Martinez Johnson also has a pretty good resume here. She ran for the congressional district against, in the 2020 election against Teresa Ledger.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah.
of course she lost that. But she was born and raised in Roswell. She worked for Exelon, which is an energy provider company. She's married, has 4 children, and has a degree in environmental engineering. She moved to Santa Fe in 2019. She is the lowest fundraiser. As of mid-September, she had about $10,200.
Okay. Yeah, she's
So
got a rough road to hoe.
It's very difficult. I mean, that's gutsy to run.
Sure.
And I'm glad people run.
Yes.
I never would.
Oh. Do you realize, I'll just jump in real quick. The first time I ran for mayor, there was 6 candidates.
Yeah. I
There
remember.
were 6
Yeah.
candidates on that, which was great. I thought it was great. That showed interest. That showed Santa Fe has people that they want to be involved
Yeah.
in this. Now, to get people to run for the school board or city council, sometime, I think the last election, some were unopposed.
People
And
don't want to run.
What is that about?
People don't want to run.
I know. There was always opposition. Nobody ever got a free ride.
Yeah. People don't want to run because somebody will pick something out of their family or their husband or their wife.
Or they don't care.
Or they don't care.
They don't care, and that's too bad, because if you really love your city, you know, and you feel you could make it a better place, or you want to be part of how it grows, and step up.
Going back to this obelisk, you know, I'd like to say, you know, Santa Fe's always been a very military town. We had battalion veterans in World War II.
Yeah.
This
Bruns Hospital.
Bruns Hospital was here. That's right.
That was all military. Where the what do they call it? Mid-city land that the city bought.
Yeah, that they're going to put stuff out
thing
there, which hasn't happened, but supposedly it's in the works.
Yes.
But it honors the soldiers of New Mexico, of Santa Fe.
Yeah.
It wasn't just for. They had taken the term, which was savage.
Yeah.
Savage. They took that out in the
Yes, of course they
70s.
did. Yeah, way back there.
Yeah.
On that thing.
So it wasn't just for, you know.
No, again, you go back to eminent domain. You go back to what was that? The soldiers came from back east, and
That's right.
And they got resistance from the Native Americans. They got resistance from the Spanish, from the Mexicans, and eventually they were moved out. But that's history.
Yeah.
That's history, and it's you can't turn a blind eye to that. That actually happened. Soldiers came here and affected our Native American, affected the Spanish, Mexican governments, or whoever had to be in power at the time. But it did happen, and you can't say, "Oh boy, this is only one particular culture that's to blame for this."
Yeah. Somebody called the other day, and they said somebody that lived here. I grew up with her, and she says, "What happened to the Vargas statue?" I said, "Last time I saw him, he was in the back of a pickup truck going, and ended up in somebody's backyard."
Yeah.
There's plenty of places to store these. I mean, these items are valuable.
Of course. I mean, somebody thinking could have a private individual with a good, secure place. They could have even put it. I think they could have put it in a city building somewhere that's
down
secure.
on Silo Road.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you could do a lot of things. Not put it in the backyard. Again, that happened.
Another thing that's going to affect Santa Fe, and it's one of our neighbors, and it's involving women. Now, there were some women the other day that marched. Texas has come up with the heartbeat, which prohibits abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, when a fetal heartbeat can be detected. No matter incest, rape, it doesn't make any difference. They've got bounties out. There'll be women coming into New Mexico, you know it.
Yes.
St. Vincent's, wherever. That could be a potential problem in the future.
It could. There's no doubt about that. It could. But again, you know, people have the right to believe in what they believe
That's right.
in. And they have the right to express it. Now, how it would affect New Mexico in any way, I can't say. I don't know. I haven't, you know, really been studying in that area. But it is. You're true. It is happening. But everybody has the right to believe the way they like, and they have the right to express it.
Well, it could cause some problems. I believe in, you know, we have to have reproductive education. We have to allow women to make their own decisions.
That's it. That's what I just said. Everybody has the right to make their decisions.
Another thing that's going to affect us, Cow Creek. Gerald Peters.
I know. One of my favorite fishing spots.
Oh, I know it is. It's the best.
Yeah, and those things.
It's like the Milagro Beanfield War.
Yeah, growth.
Pecos isn't going to go down on that one.
No, they're going to fight it. I don't know if they're going to be successful on it, but
yeah. Again,
that's kind of outside the realm of Santa Fe, but nevertheless, it's happening.
Sam Pick used to say, what the mayor does in Santa Fe is very simple. Maintain streets, snow removal, cutting weeds down, making sure the highways are safe,
Picking up your refuge.
picking up refuge.
Sure.
Basic, and maybe
basic quality of life
yeah.
issues. That's what those things boil down. That's most people. If you serve them in that manner, it's going to be okay. Weeds and these kind of things, sidewalks. Make sure that on my day, the guys from refuge come by and they pick it up and they take care of it. All of this. In most cases, a lot of people say, okay, things are going well. But again, how is that with the growth, this push to grow Santa Fe, going to affect all the basic people's services?
That's
basic
right.
things that you don't think about. And they're not a glamorous thing. They don't make the front page.
No.
You know, they don't do any of that thing. Now, water might make the front page, but if the refuge or landfill is overflowing, we got to stop. In Angel Fire, they had to stop taking thinning because the thinning was going so big, and so many people were starting to thin their areas that the landfill they closed the landfill and said, you can't thin it. We don't have any place to put this anymore. And they just shut down the landfill.
There's a lot to think about. I mean, we've got a lot of red flags out there.
Yes, we do.
I get these little notices in the mail, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How
Those
much
those are
Weber's
out there.
done,
There
and
they
how
are.
much Joanne's done.
Yes.
And Joanne didn't vote on the mask, and
Yeah.
Martinez, she comes right out and tells the red flags. So there it is, Santa Fe. Study this election, and before you vote, know what you're voting for, and
Exactly.
study it.
You know, bottom line, and I want to thank you, Karleen, for asking me to be your guest, and the community college and all the staff out here is great. George here, he's doing a heck of a job. We've known each other a long time. Anyway, what it all boils down to, you'll hear people say, I don't have a voice anymore. I can't go to city council meetings. Yes, I understand. I'll go back. I understand the protocol. I understand that. I can't do those things. But one thing you can do, and if you want your voice heard, and you don't like what's happening, on early voting is there, go down and vote. If you want to wait till the first Tuesday of November, bottom line, if you want to be heard and you want your voice to be heard, you vote. Sitting at home and complaining doesn't get it done. You got to vote.
Okay, Larry, once again, thank you for being my guest.
Well,
And Santa Fe, I hope you've learned a little bit about this next election. What's being considered, and get out and vote, because
that's right.
we don't listen to people that complain and don't vote.
No. You want your voice, again, and I'll say it, you want your voice heard, vote.
And I think I'm going to hear more about you in this election.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not going to ask you any questions that you don't want to answer.
I'm glad you did.
But stay in there, and I'm sure a lot of people that have been involved in city politics are going to be working on this election one way or the other.
I love this city.
I know you
I was
do.
born here, and when it's over, that's where I'm going to stay. You know? But I do love it. But if you're really, I can't overemphasize the fact how important it is that you vote.
Yes.
And if you don't vote, then you really can't go. You can't whine if you don't vote.
That's right.
That's the whole thing.
Okay, Santa Fe, thank you for tuning in. And George,
you, George.
thank you.